Live video is starting. We're live! Hello! Welcome! Go ahead and pop in the chat if you're on live. If you're here, great. If you're watching on replay, you can pop that in the chat as well. This will be a live video. My goal is to keep this under 20 minutes today, our presentation. And so if you're watching on replay, go ahead and let me know. Would love to hear what you get out of this at the end. So welcome. In today's presentation, I am going to let you guys know, I'm going to tell you the story and show you how I completely reversed the toxic dynamic in my marriage. If you're struggling to attain the marriage you desire, then you're in the right place. Let me see if I can see. There's people on. Hello. Hi, Debbie. Okay, I can see the comments now. Melissa. Awesome. So happy you're here, guys. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Becky Aste, and I've spent the last 10 years ridiculous amount of information. That's what I do. I inhale a lot of information from workshops, books, research, podcasts, spiritual advisors over the last decade, and I've been in and out of individual and couples therapy over these past 10 years. I've invested tens of thousands of dollars training under the leading experts in the field of childhood trauma and somatic-based healing, which is just a fancy word for body-based healing, and relationship coaching. So I've also been on the verge of divorce, and I am standing to tell you today that a redeemed marriage is 1,000% possible. So you may not know this, but there's a huge misconception out there about how to save your marriage. Today, I'm going to share with you why you don't need your husband totally on board or years of therapy to heal your marriage. You don't even need to know about trauma or how your body keeps the score of that. I will tell you everything about how I was able to save my marriage, and I'll walk you through it all. So first, I'll share how I discovered that long-term talk therapy is simply not helping, and in many cases can even be more damaging. So then I'll share with you 3 secrets to a healthy, mutually fulfilling, intimate marriage for yourself. And if you're taking notes, those 3 secrets off the bat are: 1, why unhealed trauma stored in your body needs to be healed before your marriage can ever thrive. That is secret number 1. Secret number 2, we're going to get into how to resurrect your marriage by healing your trauma, even if you don't know anything about trauma or body-based healing. Secret number 3, how to save your marriage even if your husband isn't currently putting in his own work. So I would love to hear, which secret are you the most excited about? What secret do you want to hear? We're girls. We love telling secrets. Just a slumber party at noon on a Thursday today. So before I get into the nitty-gritty details, let me show you, I'll share with you how I actually discovered this. My husband and I were married super young. I was 21, and we were both babies, completely blind to how much baggage we were bringing in. Early in our marriage, I noticed a dynamic forming of what at the time I called chase and run. I'd chase, he'd run. I didn't have the awareness that the sudden, unexpected death of my father at 18 and soon after meeting Sebastian was a recipe for some deep abandonment issues. So when Sebastian wanted space or was being quiet or, not seeming enthralled with me or did anything without me, it would trigger this undealt with trauma inside of me that I wasn't aware of. So early on, I started to tear through books, get advice, listen to soak up everything I could from anyone I respected, and eventually it led me to a different vocabulary. I learned about codependency and addiction and how that pretty much hit the nail on the coffin and described our dance, and how that was continuing to pick up speed between us. And the more I learned and absorbed and educated myself on externally, it was literally as if my efforts were only adding fuel to the fire, and I had no idea why. I was like, I'm trying so hard. Why on earth is this getting worse? But that's what happened. Things only got worse until our toxic dance reached its head, and we decided on a therapeutic separation so that we could find clarity on whether or not divorce was our only option. And at that time, I just remember my daily theme song felt like, should I stay or should I go? And I'm laughing, but I was so confused. I was in this sad hell of despair and grief, and that's when I came upon, randomly scrolling on Instagram, a relationship coach that stood out to me, started following her, and she literally changed my life. I followed her content every day for 3 weeks, and my gut was screaming louder by the minute that I needed to be in her space. So I booked a call with her. Everything in my being was a yes, but I was terrified to invest the money because honestly I was terrified it would be another fail. Fast forward, I figured out the money because I came to the point where I realized I couldn't afford not to invest. I dove in and I learned how to heal my own trauma. It was the first time I had ever found clarity to that question, should I stay or should I go? From me, not because of what my friends thought or the counselor was suggesting. It was because of me. I learned to trust myself and communicate in a radically different way and breathe in my belly literally for the first time in 10 years. And I started dancing differently. Like, I witnessed my husband moving with it. I learned to listen to my body and trust my gut and move out everything that clouded my intuition so I could see clearly in order to show up healed and whole in my marriage, really for the first time ever. And now what I'm experiencing is truly hard to put into words. I still cry when my best friend texts me asking how marriage is going this week. And week after week after week, I'm still like, girl, it's so good. And it feels like a miracle. It's truly a raised from the dead experience. And I'm enjoying my husband from a place of wholeness for the first time ever since meeting him 15 years ago. It still feels wild. So with that said, let's get into the details of how to make this happen for yourself. Enough about me. This is why you're here on this webinar today. So ready for me to gush the secrets? Okay. First secret, why unhealed trauma stored in your body needs to be healed before your marriage can ever thrive. So I am going to show you what an incredible drawer I am right now. I'm going to draw a picture of my best friend Courtney, and that's why I got you on this webinar today, so I could impress you with my artistic abilities. Look at that stick figure. All right, Courtney, meet my best friend. She grew up, hopefully you can see this, in a family with her mom, dad, and brother, who is incredible. He's on the autism spectrum. His name is Grant, okay? So mom and dad, all attention went to Grant growing up, and Courtney really lived in the background. Not because her parents were bad parents. They were doing the absolute best she can, but she learned from a pretty early age on that her voice did not matter. If you can't see that, that's an X over her mouth. She didn't get to voice what she needed. She felt invisible in the home. There was a lot of neglect that by no fault of her parents, that was her experience. Because of the situation, it was so hard. And so when Courtney got married at a really young age, imagine your first communication, right, with your new husband. And communication is hard for any couple, no matter how healthy you come into the marriage. There's miscommunication, you feel not heard. So think about this. This is one tiny sliver of an example of so much dynamic issues that was happening, but one example of how not moving trauma out of your body and not being aware of that can affect things. Okay, so imagine they're trying to communicate about something hard, and Courtney here doesn't feel heard. She doesn't feel understood. She doesn't feel prioritized or like attention's focused on her. What trauma does, her body doesn't know the difference between past and present, okay? What trauma does is it elicits these physical responses in her body that tells her she's in danger. Oh no, I'm being neglected. When she feels misunderstood by her husband, everything in her is going back to here, the trauma that's been really recorded in her body, and her physical response for her was to yell, to get her voice heard, to try to be able to feel understood. And so she would yell and scream, and for those of us who are yellers, how does that go? It doesn't usually end in feeling super intimately connected with your husband. And so eventually, there was a dynamic and a split, and their marriage did end in divorce. Okay, so I'm going to show you what happened after that. What Courtney now calls a blessing in disguise that led to her journey of healing. And she put in the work to first identify where her trauma was, what her trauma was, how her childhood impacted her present body and how she breathed and how she communicated and all of that stuff. She learned it from scratch, and she put in the work to heal the physical responses to trauma in her body. For Courtney, it was a lot of muscle tension. She had TMJ, locked jaw, headaches, you name it. A lot of stuff going on. And when she learned how to move that out, today Courtney is actually remarried, and Andrew and her have a completely different dynamic. Andrew's also somebody who put in the work. Okay, so Courtney now, when she's having a conversation with Andrew, they're not perfect, right? They miscommunicate. She feels unheard still. She feels like sometimes he doesn't get it. And instead of just letting her body, or just not even letting, instead of her body taking over and running course, she's able to identify the difference now between truth and trigger, and she knows how to ground herself so that she can understand, okay, what's going on here? I feel like I want to yell. This reminds me of what I went through, what trauma I went through in the past. But this is Andrew. This is not childhood. This is different, okay? I am safe right now. She's able to ground herself, put her feet on the ground, use her tools that she learned from a body-based approach to healing, and be able to distinguish, this is just a trigger. It's not truth. I don't have to yell. I don't have to fight to be heard. I know this is, I'm worth hearing, and I can communicate this differently. And her relationship is truly thriving. It's incredible to see. Courtney has practically reinvented herself. She's a completely different person than the woman I met 5 years ago. So the idea here is you don't need to find the right therapist or the magic book to save your marriage. It's not something external you're missing at all. In fact, if you're in long-term talk therapy and you have unhealed trauma, talking about the past over and over and over again can actually be more traumatizing. It can be re-traumatizing. So there's a way to do it without harming yourself. And all the answers, guys, are really right inside of you, between you and your God, not a mentor, therapist, book, or podcast. You need to learn to trust you and hear you and your God-given intuition. So with most mainstream therapy and what most people are doing, you have to do all these things like really you don't want to do. And the truth is it can be re-traumatizing without you even knowing it. With a somatic, body-based, front-end approach to healing, that is not an issue. You're not trying to figure out the right external resource to latch onto and depend on. You're healing from the inside out, and you're learning to trust your God-given intuition, your God-given gut. Okay, so here's a bird's eye view of what somatic-based healing delivers. It means you can heal your relationship just by learning to heal and trust your body. If you've been through trauma, the thing is you don't feel safe in your own skin. You need to start there and establish safety before any healing can take place. And the cool thing is, with this, you can practice every single day, wherever you are, without years of therapy or having to wait a week only for an hour of your therapist's time before you learn the next tools and can implement them for the following week. Okay, you have you, and you've got you, and you can take your healing with you wherever you go. You don't have to wait on anyone else. Now, I know you're probably thinking at this point, you think, I don't even know if I have trauma or what the heck body-based healing means. So that brings me to my next secret. The second secret is how to resurrect your marriage by healing your trauma, even if you don't know anything about trauma or body-based healing. The reason is this. Think of my girl Ashley, for example. She was completely new to any kind of body work, a complete beginner. And she would say at first how awkward she felt doing the yoga poses, how awkward they were and new to her. But then starting to practice these brand new skills she had never done before, she started reporting for the first time ever having victories in the dynamic of her communication with her husband. She had been through betrayal trauma and had no idea how to locate any kind of connection between that and her physical body. But she learned it's not rocket science. It's just the mainstream system of healing our society is accustomed to and set up for. So now, Ashley and her husband, they're healing, they're fighting for their love, and they're enjoying vacations together for the first time ever. Triggers are actually strengthening them instead of throwing them off their quicksand foundation that they started on. So, I'm going to draw one more picture for you. because I know you guys are so impressed by that. My poor mama, she's 73, her birthday was last week. She fell, some of you guys know this, and broke her leg last month. Okay, so mama fell in the kitchen. This is her leg, okay? And she broke it, she fractured it pretty bad right on the knee. And what happened was she screamed bloody murder, and her husband came running, and she said, I can't put my weight on my leg. This is broken, it's broken, it's broken. They rushed her to the ER. They splintered her in the hospital. They sent her home with orders and a PT to follow up, and the PT taught her how to safely heal her broken, fractured leg without causing any more damage and helping her get on the path to do it the quickest way possible. Okay, that all makes sense. Have you broken something? Put in the chat if you've broken something. I broke my elbow when I was 6. I fell off the monkey bars. And I had a cast for it, right? But the thing is I want to teach you with this is emotionally, this happens. We get heartbreak, we've been abused, we've gone through trauma, and we don't treat it the same way we would a broken leg. Okay, but our body is screaming to us. We just may not know how to listen to the way the body communicates yet, and so we miss it. And we don't treat emotional trauma the same way in our society as we do physical trauma. And I'm a prime example of that. When my father passed away suddenly when I was 18, it was my first week of college, I got the call and my body was in shock, right? I was traumatized, I was resisting the truth, and you know what I did? I said, I need to go to class. And I literally went to class right after getting the news of my father dying. Because one of the phone call from my mom was, honey, we have to keep going, and you have to make your daddy proud, and we can't just give up right now. And so in my state of trauma, that was the message that I heard, and so I went to class, and that became the roadmap for how I would deal with trauma for the rest of my life from there on out. Anytime stuff hit the fan, or I went through something hard, or painful, or grief, I went into busy mode or doing anything I could to not be in my body. I would flee my body, right? And try to distract myself with something else. And we all know what that is like. We have, go to the bottle, right? Well, if we drink too much to escape reality, we lose ourselves on social media, we overeat. There's a million coping reasons. And what it is us just trying to survive. And so it can get us through sometimes keeping our head above water when trauma is in its most intense place, but it's not going to serve you for the long run if you continue to cope by leaving your body in whatever way that is and not learning to listen to it and say, okay, what is my body asking for right now? What do I need? How do I tend to it? Then we're going to create this long-term gimp emotionally. Imagine my mom, if she was like, the reality of my broken leg, if it's broken, that's too much for me to bear. I don't want to believe it, so I'm just going to keep dancing. I'm going to go to dance class, I'm going to go grocery shopping, and I just don't even, guys, her leg would get so much worse, first of all. The amount of time it would take to heal would be unnecessarily extended, and she would end up with a gimp for life. Whereas doing it the right way and tending to it and stopping so that she could splint it and recover and do exercises that were helpful for its healing, you guys have probably heard a broken bone once healed the right way is actually stronger than it was in the beginning. And that can be the same emotionally. An emotionally broken heart or abuse or trauma, when healed the right way, you can become stronger than you were at the beginning. But if you're going about it the wrong way and doing it in a way that's harming you more, that you're unaware of, then it could actually leave you with this lifelong emotional gimp that you're going to carry into every relationship moving forward. Okay, so what this means is you can restore your marriage without being a yoga guru or a Buddhist monk or trauma expert. Anyone can learn this stuff. Anyone can understand, the principles of this work. And now I know what you're probably thinking. You're like, okay, I've done my work, or I'm invested and willing, but my husband just needs to get on board. He's not the one putting in his work. So that brings me to our last and final secret. The third secret is how you can save your marriage even if your husband isn't putting in his own work right now. So the idea here is that even if your husband isn't on board or willing to put in the work right now, you can still transform the dynamic. And the reason why is when I started my deep healing, my husband was not on the same level or investing in the same way. But I started to learn these new ways of living and communicating I had never known before in my life. I was changing the dance, and as vulnerable and scary as that felt sometimes, it gave him the opportunity to step differently. I stepped different. He could keep doing the same old steps and step on my toes, or he could move with me. And what happened was, I'll tell you in a sec, but what I had to do first was I had to release any attachment to the outcome of how he would respond. I was doing this for me, but what ended up happening was he sensed that. For the first time ever, I released attachment fully, and he could feel that shift in energy. It's all, in my opinion, about intention. If your intention is to control, change, and manipulate him, his body is going to feel that. It's going to keep getting weirder. But if your intention is to stay in your own boat and heal, his body will feel that too. And he'll feel potentially inspired to work on his own stuff right alongside with you. And I got to witness that happening, and I couldn't believe it. Sebastian was stepping differently with me. We were learning this new dance. He was asking to see the modules I was listening to, and we were doing guided meditations together before bed, like stuff he used to mock so hard, and healing started to grow. So you can absolutely save your marriage without your husband being on board at this very moment. You have a rehearsed dance, do you not? And you know it. It's unique to you and your husband. And someone needs to start stepping differently. You can't wait for him. He's not going to come save you or rescue you, as much as we want that. If you want your marriage to change, you need to step differently. And he totally has the chance and choice to respond the same old way, but he also could have the opportunity to heal as well alongside you. And sometimes that sucks. It sucks being like the bigger person, but let me ask you this. If being the bigger person right now and taking the lead in a new way delivers in the long run a mutually fulfilling partnership and intimacy with your partner that you never dreamed of, would you do it? So let's recap what we learned, okay? We had secret time today. There's 3 secrets. Is 1, why healing your trauma stored in your body is absolutely vital for your marriage to thrive. Secret number 2, we learned how to resurrect your marriage even if trauma is something unfamiliar to you and you don't know anything about it, or body-based healing. Secret number 3, we learned how you can save your marriage even if your husband isn't putting in his own work. So let me ask you a question, and you can answer this in the chat. If you had the choice between trying to do this all yourself without any guidance, that's number 1. Or number 2, work with somebody who's already done it time and time again to help you, guide you, and work with you to get the results. Which would you choose? Type a 1 in the chat if you prefer to go it alone, and a 2 in the chat if you would rather have help and guidance. I'm not able to see the chat right now, but I'm feeling a lot of 2s. So that's good news for you guys, because if you're interested in reclaiming your marriage, then I'd like to tell you about an upcoming program that will teach you how to do just that. It's called I Do Breakthrough, and it's designed to completely restore marriages by first healing the trauma stored in your body. I plan on charging $5,000 for this premium coaching program when I launch it, where I come alongside you and I help you. But if you're on this webinar today, I have some really good news for you. I'm looking for beta students. So what that is I'm going to be offering this program for an extremely discounted price. This is not a course where you watch some videos and just hope for results, okay? You will be able to ask questions in real time, get live coaching on your personal situation, and instead of watching recorded videos, it's all personal interaction. You get a 24/7 access to our private Slack channel, where if you're triggered in the middle of the night, for example, you're going to be able to reach out and have support of our small, safe community, okay? The reason I'm doing this is because before I go out into the public, I want to create a ton of amazing case studies beforehand. So I'm going to make it my personal crusade to get you the results so that it's a win-win for both of us. I will work extra hard for your testimonial and results. I will give you my whole heart so that I can get your case study as social proof for my full program to launch. And the only catch is this. You have to agree to become a case study for my program after I get you amazing results. So if you're not willing to share your results, then don't take the offer. You can share your results anonymously if you wish, but the thing is, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it for my future program and the future women who need hope that their marriage can too be saved, even if it feels completely hopeless today. So if you'd like to participate, go to the link I'm going to add to the caption once I post this live video and book a call with me. It will only be an offer of this beta version of I Do Breakthrough one time ever at this extreme discount. So if you want to explore more and learn how this can work for you to have my help, I want you to click on the link and book a strategy call with me personally. We can deep dive and talk about where your marriage is at, your unique history, and together come up with an action plan that gets you where you want to be. So remember, once those 5 spots are taken, I'll be launching this course at a much higher investment. So now is the time to take action. Decide today that you will reclaim your marriage and book a call with me right now. Thank you so much for hopping on with me. I love you guys so much from the bottom of my heart, and I can't wait for your strategy call. Have a great day.